Eagles. This is Miss Rockwell. I'm really excited to be presenting you your social studies lesson for today. So far in social studies, you've really been diving in to learn about economics. So the word economics is really presented as the idea of money and how money is being made and how do we use it and just how do we function, okay? So this week for social studies, y'all are going to be reading Social Studies Weekly, week 30. So if you already go ahead and pull it up, week 30 is titled Goods and Services. So let's take a minute just to talk about the terms goods and services. Okay, so let's take a look. So our first word is goods. What do you think about when you hear the word goods? What do you think it is? So the idea of goods is things that we buy, like our items and our things, okay? So it's kind of like a noun, okay? So I'm going to write that up there. Goods is things we buy, but it's not just stuff we buy, it's things that we can see and we can touch. Okay, so let me think about what an example of a good would be. So I went grocery shopping yesterday, and one of the goods that I went and I bought was a can of corn. Okay, so now goods are not always packaged; they're not always in cans. Now, can you think of a good that is in such a high demand? People want it everywhere right now that we're stuck in our homes. So that good is toilet paper. Toilet paper is an example of a good. Again, they don't always have to be packaged. A kitchen chair can be a good. So I just want you to think to yourself, what are some other goods that we go out and we purchase? That could be your video games. It could be the food that your parents have bought. It could be my shirt, your clothes. It can be all of those items. Okay. So now that we're experts on goods, well, what do you think the word service is? So we can break that down and think about serve. What does it mean to serve somebody? So to serve means like I'm doing something for somebody. So service is actually the idea of the work So here we're buying, this is the work we're paying people to do for us. Because I'm going to be honest, Ms. Rockwell is not an expert on everything, and I have to pay people to do stuff, okay? So for example, on Wednesdays, the trash man comes and he picks up my trash at the front of my driveway. That is a service. I'm paying the trash people to pick up my trash for me. Okay? Can you think of any other services your parents might pay for? So I also have a mailman. Sometimes I get my hair cut. I'm paying a hairdresser. Again, these are all items that I'm paying someone to do. They're giving me service, okay? And even if you think about the word serve, your waiter serves you. A waitress could be, that's a service. You're paying for them to do something for you. You're paying for them to give you food, okay? So, I feel pretty confident that we know the difference between goods, things that we buy, that we can see, or services, things that we're paying for, that is work being done, kind of like a verb, okay? So what I want you to do is you are going to pause the video, and I want you to go read the first article of Social Studies Weekly. It's called Goods and Services of Georgia, and there's one other small article that's called, let me double check. It's called Marrakesh. I'm not positive if I pronounced that correct, but I want you to pause the video, and I want you to go read those two little sections, and then I want you to come back. But here's your task. I want you to see if you can find any goods and services that were presented in that article. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video. All right, so now that you've read the article, you've read about goods and services of Georgia, and you also learned about goods and services of a small little village in Africa. So let's brainstorm. What were some goods you found in your article? So let's think, what are some things that we buy here in Georgia? So I noticed we buy peanuts. Okay. I noticed in the article we buy cars. I noticed we bought blueberries. And then sometimes we also buy cotton. Okay, so I'm noticing I'm writing a lot of food, but again, I gotta remind myself a good is not only food. Okay, all right, let's think. What were some goods that I noticed the little small town in Africa, what did they buy? So I noticed in their market, they bought crafts. Okay, I also noticed that they bought baskets. Okay, I also noticed in the video they bought spices. That reminded me when we were doing Explorers. Okay, these are all goods that they bought. And if you found more than just the list that I've done, that's awesome. Okay, all right, now let's think. What are some services that we pay people to do in Georgia? Okay, what are some services we pay people to do in Georgia? Okay, well, I noticed we talked about cars. We can buy cars, but sometimes we have to get them worked on by a mechanic. So a mechanic is a service. Okay, because I'm paying him to fix my car. Okay, sometimes when we get sick, we're paying a doctor to help us. We already talked about a mailman. Okay. We talked about when you get your hair cut, a hairdresser or hairstylist. Okay, sometimes truck drivers, okay, we're paying them to kind of bring us some items. We talked about a waiter, a waitress. Those are all good things. Now, what might be some services that were in that small little town in Africa? You know, it's crazy. Some of the kids were providing services because the kids are actually working in their little markets. So sometimes the children of Marquise were giving services. Okay, and think about they were buying crafts, they were buying baskets. So the service would be the craftsman. Again, service is the people that we're paying to do the work. They're serving us, okay? So, y'all did an awesome job today. Today, again, we were really, zooming in on focusing on goods and services. So what you are going to do today is you're going to finish reading Social Studies Weekly, week 30. There's one more article that talks about the buying of goods and services, okay? So I really want to challenge you to take your time reading this article because at the very last page at the bottom, you are going to complete the Think and Review page, okay? I would love to hear from your teachers, your responses, but again, you got to take your time, you got to go back to the passage, and you've got to find your answer, okay? So, you are going to post your answers for Think and Review on the discussion board page, okay? So make sure that not only do you go back and read it all, but you type out your responses for every single question, okay? And I also want to give you a challenge. Now, this is not part of your assignment, but I want to see if you do it. Underneath your questions, I want to challenge you to go ask your parents, what are some goods and services that we buy and we purchase, and see what your parents have to say. Okay? I want to challenge you. Okay? So I can't wait to talk to y'all again on Wednesday. I hope you're all doing well, and I cannot wait to see y'all's responses.